21 of Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL, and I'm joined by the best co-host in the game. You have heard him on the Saturday morning spread. It is Mark Henry Jr. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mark Henry Jr. NFL. Mark, how are you doing today?
I am doing well, or at least better than Sean McDermott is doing.
Yeah, he has his public crash out on TV and then gets fired, and something I said should have happened last offseason, but we'll get into all of that. I guess that's as good a place to start as any. Let's talk Bills-Broncos game, and then we can talk some of the aftermath as well as we sort of move through all these divisional round matchups. So awesome game. Bills lose 33-30 in overtime, and this was an epic game with a complete clunker of an ending. And so we probably start at that ending. That's the talking point. And the officials allowed this game to be physical for the duration of the game. And then on the final drive, they threw 2 defensive pass interference flags with the Broncos just launching up prayers to try to draw them. The Broncos got 53 yards of penalties on that final drive. And I thought, both flags were defensible if the game was consistently officiated closely. But it wasn't. They were allowed to play physically until it almost seemed like the officials were like, all right, let's end this game. And it's a sour end to the game. And that's before you get to the interception that gave the Broncos the ball to begin with, where you have sort of the simultaneous possession situation. And to be clear, I think that's an interception under the current rules. If there was no defender there and the ball came out when he hit the ground, that would have been ruled an incompletion. And so if it would have been ruled an incompletion, then he's not down by contact. And I get all that. I wish the NFL could clean up their catch rules. I don't know if that's even possible. I think that play was officiated correctly, but it feels bad. But then the defensive pass interference calls, I thought those were terrible. Now, I posted about this on Twitter and had a lot of people coming at me, so I'm going to say here, hear what I'm saying and what I'm not. As a fan watching the game, it was a bad ending to a great game. But the Bills don't have anybody to blame but themselves. They turned the football over 5 times in this game. And so for Sean McDermott to cry about it after the game, and maybe that's not a good way to say that, because Bills players were really emotional after the game, and I'm not trying to demean that in any way. For Sean McDermott to complain about it so publicly, about that one call and the process on the interception, as much as he did, for years it's been New York looks at the play and they make that ruling. And so for McDermott, for that process to have happened and him to call a timeout and try to get the head official to go look in a monitor when that's simply not how the process works, and then to complain about it after the game as vehemently as he did, is very on par for the Bills. This is an organization that cries about the rules and tries to get the rules changed every time they lose in the playoffs. And frankly, I thought that was an embarrassment to the organization, the way McDermott behaved after the game. And especially to pigeonhole him that one thing when that was 1 turnover out of 5. And so I get it. And as a Bills fan, I would be upset. If I was a Bills fan, I would be upset. As a fan, I hate that the DPIs are what that game came down to. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen turned the football over 4 times. And he's going to get a lot of flack for that. And he already has online. I will say 2 of those weren't his fault. That interception at the end, not his fault. One of the strip sack fumbles, not his fault. The left tackle never even made contact with the edge rusher. It's a rhythm drop back and he's getting hit under 2 seconds and the ball comes out. The other 2 were probably, including the indefensible one, is before halftime. You get the ball back with 16 seconds and you scramble. This is why teams take a knee a lot of times in those situations. And I'm not saying they should I think they had 2 timeouts, but you can't scramble and take a hit and fumble and just give the Broncos a field goal there. That ends up costing you the game. He also missed multiple throws, and I think those are a bigger deal. People are going to talk about the 4 turnovers. To me, what Josh Allen should really be under the microscope for is the fumble before halftime. That one's indefensible. He missed a lot of throws, including a wide open tight end that would have ended the game. And so if you want to pile on Josh Allen, you point to that tight end throw and that one fumble. Don't just trot out 4 turnovers. And it's crazy. I've been talking about this game. Haven't even mentioned the Broncos. But their defense played really well. They build a 13-point lead, and then they lose that lead and ultimately win the game. But the real story out of the Denver game is Bo Nix's injury, which means Jared Stidham will start in the AFC Championship game. And did you see what Nick Foles tweeted about this, Mark?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I retweeted it. For those of you not on Twitter, Nick Foles said, "Note for the Broncos and their fans. I know it's been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship games." It's a legendary tweet from Nick Foles. I will say, though, I mean, this isn't the Nick Foles situation. Nick Foles had started 36 career games, including his 27 touchdown, 2 interception season before he stepped in for the Eagles. He also had 2 games in the regular season as an on-ramp to get ready for the playoffs. And he played so poorly in the second one, the Raiders game, people legitimately debated starting Nate Sudfeld in the playoffs. So maybe a miracle will happen for the Broncos, but they really needed to face the Texans to have a shot, which isn't going to happen. And so their season is probably over, and everybody walks out of this game as a loser. Although I will say, the Texans' defense played good enough against the Patriots to stay in the game despite having to start C.J. Stroud at quarterback, and Jared Stidham can't be much worse than C.J. Stroud. So there's a chance they keep it close and have a shot if you're going to try to spin it positively. What did you take out of this game?
It's hard to even know where to start. Do I start with the ref angle with the Bills? Do I start with the Bo Nix angle with the Broncos? Do we talk about Sean McDermott? I'll try to you know what? Let's start with the Denver angle first. I'll start with the Denver angle because I think the Buffalo stuff is actually a little bit more interesting. Bo Nix was awesome in this game. This was a game that I thought Buffalo would only be beat really by the run game and by someone gashing them for 200 yards and the team really committing to the run game and that being the way you attack that Buffalo defense. Obviously, Josh Allen and the turnovers played a huge factor and role into losing them that game. Probably the biggest factor and biggest role into losing them that game. But I do think you have to give Bo Nix all the credit in the world winning a big game like that I did not think if they won that game, they were going to put up the amount of points that he did. And then, I was racking my brain last night, and I can't. And I know Shane's more of a football guy than comparing it to other sports. I can't really remember any across sports in general, like an injury like this, where it's after the game, you didn't find out about it in the body of the game and worry about it the rest of the game. Like you're celebrating. Like I was trying to think of it like if it happened to us, like we'd be on a post-game show, like right after, like finding out 10, 20 minutes later. Like it's brain breaking to me as a fan what that must have been like. I genuinely feel horrible for Denver fans.
I didn't find out so I was like, I finished that game and then was like doing dinner, getting kids ready for bed and stuff. So I was watching the Rams game from behind. So I was off of Twitter. So I didn't find anything out, and I didn't see it until I like caught up to live in the fourth quarter. And then I opened my phone and I was like, saw everybody talking about the Broncos news. And I was like, what Broncos news? Is why I even like, I saw somebody quote tweet the NFL post and I clicked on it and went, and like I saw the gold badge even, and I went and made sure it was the legit NFL account because I was like, there's no way that's real.
There's been a couple things in the last couple days that I thought were fake news. Like that one, when I first got the notification, I'm like, really? Like Bo Nix is out? What are we? And it just felt so quick to know that it was within 20 minutes. Like it was just so fast that was out after the game. So that added to me not believing it. And then the McDermott piece today, when I got that McDermott notification, I guess I shouldn't have been shocked, but once they beat Jacksonville, in my head, I guess I kind of moved on from it being a possibility that they were going to fight. I think we even discussed it last week on the show, saying that now Joe Brady's probably staying and McDermott's probably staying after all that talk. And That's not the case. There isn't there. Like I said, there's so many layers to get to in this game, and the Denver stuff. I hate to not spend a ton of time on Denver. I'm sure we're going to preview a little bit of the Patriots Broncos game maybe after we get to the Patriots side of things. But it did create a really interesting angle with the Stidham Bowl. Jarrett Stidham was going to be the guy replacing Tom Brady, and then they brought in Cam Newton, and Stidham never got to really be the starter in New England, and obviously goes to be the backup in Denver for a while. But it is an interesting revenge game scenario, Shane. I know you love when I bring up revenge games. Jarrett Stidham. There's not enough motivation for Jarrett Stidham to win.
If the Broncos win this game, we will title the podcast Jared Stidham Revenge Game next week.
We have to. There's no way around it. But I do think the most interesting side of this, the most interesting angles of this come from the Buffalo game. They obviously just fired their coach today, and there's obviously a ref part of it. It obviously involves, in my opinion, the face of not just the NFL, but maybe American sports right now, and Josh Allen. And I think Josh Allen, we had a comment saying, you live by Josh Allen, you're going to die by Josh Allen. And that's been the case. And most of the time in the playoffs, you can't tie the loss to Josh Allen. You can say, oh, he had the ball at the end of the game and it didn't work out. But now this one's hard to – there's other reasons. There's ref stuff. And I understand if you're a Bills fan, you kind of have to hang on that ref stuff to not blame Josh Allen a little bit. There's like some mental gymnastics you have to do. And I think everybody does as a fan. I had no problem with any of the DPIs. The DPIs, I think, were all flags. I understand the way they were calling it. Even the way they were calling it, I think it was hard to not call them. And then the one that was maybe borderline, there was a roughing the passer on that play anyway, too, that would have been 3 yards less than I think at the time than what the PI was. So I have no sympathy for the flags at the end of the game. And also, that's like part of throwing it down the field is there's the risk of that. Like Joe Flacco made a career out of that in Baltimore for years. That was the pass interference offense that Baltimore ran for a long time. That should be an incentive for teams to pass down the field. So when people do the whole, they're begging for a PI and all that stuff, I actually don't care about that. This is a niche thing. Something that actually bothers me about AJ Brown is that he doesn't sell pass interference at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you watch every wide receiver in the NFL, if they know they're not going to make the catch, I'm not saying you give up on the play and flop before the ball's there. But if you're, you realize this is going to be a really hard catch or you're not going to make it, you got to sell it. That's how you get the call. And AJ's too proud to do that. And I feel like he wants to fight through it and he wants to own guys and moss them and things like that. And that bothers me so much. But anyway, back to this game. I do think McDermott is correct to be a little annoyed that they didn't do a longer review process on that play. It was probably an interception, but I do think it's closer than people are giving it credit that are saying, that he had no complaint and they reviewed it properly. We see turnovers and touchdowns, even though that they are reviewed in that quick, what is it called? A replay
rapid review
angle.
Something like that.
The quick way that they do it. But the touchdown, we had multiple touchdowns yesterday after that, because Bills fans kept tweeting about it. We had multiple touchdowns yesterday reviewed even after that, to the point where the ref had to come out and say, we're going to the review to check on this play. And I don't understand why they didn't. And it's it just would have been so easy to just let them go to review, listen to Sean McDermott so you don't have to hear him complain about it, and then just say, call on the field stands. It's not I can't believe I'm forgetting the word right now. What's the word? It has to be
conclusive.
Irrefutable. Yeah, it has to be irrefutable. So
irrefutable.
Conclusive.
Whatever word salad they decide to use for the rules when they change them for the Bills this year.
Yeah. So, but do you? I guess the angle I'll ask you before we get to the whole firing. Do you think he knew he was getting fired when he did the whole stand up for Buffalo? Was that a job security thing? Was that a blame the loss on somebody else thing?
Probably. He is an excellent scapegoater. I mean, he scapegoated
100%.
Leslie Frazier. He scapegoated Brian Dable, which I saw some reports that Brian Dable might be the new head coach there, which would be hilarious if the guy you scapegoated a few years ago takes your job now. So he is a professional scapegoater, and I 100% think that's what was happening. But honestly, not it should make no impact at all. But if that was going to sway me one direction or the other as an owner, it would sway me to fire you because I thought it was embarrassing.
It was definitely embarrassing. I totally agree. Um, and so let's get into the firing. Let's get it. I think we've talked enough about Josh, and Josh wasn't good enough in this game, although he did some amazing things. So it's hard to be too critical, which is kind of the Josh Allen story. But Lamar Jackson had the game Josh Allen had yesterday. I know Josh is getting killed a good amount. I think it would be even louder if that was Lamar Jackson. So I don't feel too bad because I think Lamar has had some things unfairly put at his feet too often. So I think that the next angle is talking about Brandon Beane being not only kept but promoted to the president of football operations, which makes you think that there was some behind the scenes stuff with McDermott and Beane that had been building for a while at this point, and I guess Beane won the power struggle over McDermott. So there are people saying it's not even worth firing McDermott if you're keeping Beane. And I get it. Nobody's going to tell you they should keep Brandon Beane. He's done a bad job. He should be fired. But if you're operating from the standpoint of Brandon Beane is there no matter what, he's clearly convinced the owner, would you say they should have kept McDermott or fired McDermott?
I still would have fired McDermott.
I agree. So I still think it's the better decision.
Yeah. I'm not a McDermott defender. In fact, I said last year they should have fired him because it's impossible. The Bills will never win a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott as their head coach. That's what I said last offseason. That said, he is a large problem. He is the second largest problem in the Bills organization. The largest problem is that their roster stinks because Brandon Beane is a terrible general manager. I think I saw this floating around on Twitter. I think it's since Josh Allen, they've made 56 draft picks and only 2 of them have made a Pro Bowl. Somebody can fact check that. I think that's what I read. He's done a bad job in roster management. He has built a roster where Josh Allen has to do everything or it won't get done. And so I think McDermott has a lot of faults. I think McDermott should have been fired, but he's the second biggest issue. And so it's a step, but it's a half measure.
Yeah, I think it's the right call. Obviously, we all think Beane should have been fired. And it does seem like the 3 big names early I guess I'll say even 4 big names that I've seen early, mainly the first 3, have been Brian Dable, which I want Dable badly as the Eagles OC. I think this is a disaster if he gets the job for the Eagles because you're running out of names.
Not if it makes Joe Brady available.
That's fair. That's true. It's neck and neck for me on who I would prefer. I would probably prefer Dable with the Jalen connection back to college. But Brady I would love either one. Joe Brady is the other option if they decided to internally promote. I don't really get either of those. Like the Dable one would just feel like Josh loves Dable, so that would feel like you're letting Josh pick the head coach. Brady,
maybe they should let Josh draft the rookies too.
Yeah, no, hey, he might be no ball. But with Joe,
blindfold him and give him a dartboard, and he'll still work out better than Brandon Beane.
What is Brady doing? What would Brady do as head coach that he's not doing right now? Like he's the offensive play caller currently.
Yeah. It's just a leadership change. I mean, if the offense wouldn't change, it's just a change of leadership, which makes it feel like a change for the sake of change. And whatever interpersonal things are going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Unless you're saying we're getting a great DC in, and that's our way of, fixing it. But at that point, why wouldn't you just hire? And the 4th name I've heard is Brian Flores. But you never know. Like, Flores is just, it seems like he's never going to get a job at this point. So it's hard to keep projecting him for jobs when I think the NFL very much is telling teams not to hire him. So Um, I think it probably will be Brady. Oh, and Davis Webb. I forgot to say the third name. It'll probably be Brady, Daboll, or Webb, is what people seem to think right now. Um, I I don't. I'm not jazzed by any of that. I think like if you're Buffalo, you should be looking at McDaniel. You should be looking at Clint Kubiak. You should be looking at even Flores. I do think Flores is an interesting option. You should be looking at. I guess. I guess that after that it starts. Now that Stefanski's off the board, it starts to get a little thin. But at this point, Harbaugh and Stefanski are at their jobs. It looks like Minter's going to Baltimore. It looks like Nagy or McCarthy are going to Tennessee.
What a joke.
It's either way, it's horrible. Somehow they've made it to the point where their fan base is like begging for Mike McCarthy because they don't want Matt Nagy. Like I saw like Justin Graver, the Heed the Call producer, is a big Titans fan, and he put out literally a book on Twitter about how Matt Nagy's not that bad of a hire. But all the replies are just like, can't they just hire Mike McCarthy? Like, it's clear he's such a better. It's like, man, if you get your fan base thirsting for Mike McCarthy, that means you know that the other options are not exciting.
Yeah.
And then it seems like Halfley is a done deal for Miami. So at that point, you have Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Buffalo, and Vegas as the 5 openings. Seems like Udinski might be the guy in Cleveland.
Who? Who'd you say?
Grant Udinski, the Jags offensive coordinator. He's only 30 years old, and there's a lot of buzz that they really like him. There's also some buzz about McDaniel there, but I feel like the main leading guy I've seen is Udinski. It seems like Pittsburgh's going to either do the Flores or Schilhaas thing, or Shula. Yeah. One of those three. Those seem to be the 3 big names now that Minter is probably going to Baltimore. I think Arizona's the Kubiak team, if I had to guess. The fact that we've heard so little and now they can't interview him and they wouldn't have been able to hire him anyway. Like, I kind of feel like it makes sense that he's either the Arizona or Vegas guy. Yeah. And yeah, I guess I'll say I think he's either the Arizona or Vegas guy, and I have no idea what happens with the other job. And then Buffalo now probably going to be one of those 3 names we mentioned. So that's a little coaching carousel news there.
Yeah. Well, let's roll into the Saturday night game then. This one was the worst game of the weekend. I mean, if you hate the 49ers, I guess it was fun, but Seattle wins 41-6. Rashid Shaheed returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown, and I literally said to my wife, that might be all the points they need, and it turns out it was. And this game was a disaster for the 49ers. They went for it on a 4th and 1 after the opening kickoff touchdown. 49ers drive to the Seattle 40, and they go for it on a 4th and 1, which was the right call, but they ran a handoff to Kyle Juszczyk that turned into an option play running to the short side of the field, which is one of the most unbelievably stupid play calls I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't work. It's a stupid play call, but if you're going to run it, at least run it to the wide side of the field. Seattle responds with a field goal. Then 2 plays into their next drive, the 49ers fumbled, and the Seahawks scored to go up 17-0, and the route was fully on. Sam Darnold didn't have to do much in this game. The run game totally went off. Zach Charbonnet was injured early, but Kenneth Walker stepped up, rushing for 116 yards and 3 touchdowns. I thought Darnold looked fine coming off of his injury. The oblique injury didn't seem to bother him. He wasn't pressured much, so that's something to watch for, especially against the Rams, who are 4th in the NFL in pressure rate. Like we've said all along, that was the issue for Darnold. Like, that's what can really stop them. And we've seen Darnold have issues this year. Against the Rams in 2 games, he threw 6 total interceptions and took 4 sacks. And both of those games were really close. They lost one game by 2, and they won one game by 1 in overtime. So total point differential in these games, 1 point. So it should be a great game. If they can get through that, though, everything shapes up pretty nicely for them in terms of Super Bowl matchup. The Texans are the team that I thought could make them fold with their pass rush, and they're out. The Broncos are the next team in pressure rate, but they're soon to be out of the playoffs, like 99.9% chance. So they would
Oh,
probably.
hey. Let's respect Jarrett Stidham.
I did. I gave him a .01 or a
They're
0.1%
only a
chance.
5.5 point dog. It's
That's
not like
insane.
I actually think it might be a few too many points.
We'll see. We'll
I'm
see.
biased. I have my futures on New England. I'm not betting the game, so I'm just rooting for my plus 450 on to win the AFC, and then I have 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. So I'm just rooting for the Patriots. I'm not even going to hedge. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous how sure you are and how sure
Yeah.
everybody is. It actually opened -4, and it got bet up to 5.5.
I mean, well, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get to the How many? Well, I guess we're kind of previewing as we go. How many points do the Patriots have to score for this game to be over? I think it's 10. If they get to
16.
okay. I think if you get to double digits, I feel like you've got the game on ice.
I'll say 16, and my score prediction might be like 17-14. I could see that being how it goes.
All right. I mean, I guess
7-0 at halftime, and it's like, what the heck?
at the end of the day, it is still Sean Payton, but
I should have, and we're getting. I think that Bills Broncos probably should cover like half the podcast, to be honest. I guess Bears Rams was awesome too, but I do think if anybody is gonna get a backup quarterback ready, it's Sean Payton, and the guy has been there for 3 years. Like, it's not a guy who they got in week 8 or who they've had just this year. Like, this guy knows the Sean Payton system. Like, he did come in at the end of the Russell Wilson year, and he didn't light the world on fire. But if you go look at it, I think he had like an average of, it was 2 starts. I think he had like 200 yards to one start, like 260 in the other start. I think he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns to 1 or 2 picks. Like, he won one of the games, lost one of the games close, I think. I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't, the worst performance you've ever seen just based on Sean Payton.
Yeah. We had a comment here from Adam asking if the 4th down call was more stupid than Kevin Patullo's. Surprisingly, yes. Handing the ball to your fullback to run an option play on 4th and 1s. That is actually stupider than anything Kevin Patullo did this season. But
I think that I was talking to someone about this. Ben Johnson has one play every other game, just about, where you're like, what the heck was the plan there? And it just doesn't pan out. I think if you have a genius offensive mind, like one of those, literally the top 1% or top 5% of football offensive minds in the sport, I think you're just gonna have like a play every game or two that just is really dumb, and it's like it worked in his head. Yeah. And you kind of just have to like hope that it doesn't happen on 4th and 1.
Yeah, can we run that a play on 2nd down, please?
Yeah.
So anyway, so if the Patriots take care of the Broncos, and that would end up being the 49ers Super Bowl matchup, they've got an average pressure rate. And so to me,
Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, if Seattle can get through the Rams, I think they're going to get a favorable Super Bowl matchup. I mean, they're going to either way, because even if they face the Broncos, who maybe aren't a favorable matchup offensively or for their offense, can you imagine what this defense would do to Jarrett Stidham? And so this feels like the Super Bowl for the Seahawks for me. If they win against the Rams, they're winning the Super Bowl. I just think they take either AFC team pretty easily.
Do you feel that way about the Rams?
Not necessarily. I think Rams Patriots would be a really good game. I think the only thing that can throw a hitch in the Seahawks is Darnold melting down, which would be pressure related. And I don't think the Patriots can do that to him. And although the Broncos could, I think the Broncos offense would just be utterly destroyed by the Seahawks defense.
I think the Patriots defense turned it up, though, in these last 2 games.
They have. I don't think they're bad. They just don't have the dominant pass rush. That's the thing I think could really sink Darnold.
I do feel like that they got after Stroud, though. Like, and I know that Houston line's worse.
That's an abomination.
Yeah, it's obviously much worse. I think he graded out like 19th somehow, which I feel like it's shocking it wasn't bottom 5. And Seattle's got a good O-line, but it's just the Sam Darnold effect to me. Like, if we get Seahawks Patriots, I think that spread's probably going to be like Seattle -2.5, 3. Like, I
Yeah.
still think that's going to be probably a pretty close spread. And I would say it's going to be like, I would put it right at that same number. Like I wouldn't be that like I've said though, I've been pretty confident in New England the whole way, and I guess I keep telling myself that the New England fumbles and interceptions are like a fluke, and that if they can get that stuff out of the way, everything else is so good right now, and they're they've won these games despite themselves on offense in some ways. That I do feel like there is a great Patriots game coming. It is something that I was thinking about this watching all the. I'm very tangential today and off topic, but I was thinking about the snow, all the snow, and I know Shane hates the snow games in the playoffs. It does feel like sometimes when we have all these snow games, when we get to the Super Bowl,
It's
and then
weird because it's
and then
inside
it's
or,
in a
or
dome. You're
warm
like,
weather.
this is a different sport. This is like arena football out here. Like even like the players' jerseys look different. Like I remember, I think it was the Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl because yeah, we played home the whole way there, and we were playing in cold weather so often. I remember when I saw them come out in like the tight jerseys, like they didn't have all the long sleeves and gear on under it, and like I was like, whoa, it looks like they're playing like basketball out there. Like it doesn't even look like they have like shoulder pads on. Like I remember AJ Brown especially looked like just like he
Yeah.
had like a shirt on. Like, but yeah, just something stupid there. It does feel like I could see the Patriots if they get to the Super Bowl and you're playing in a dome. Like I could see that Patriots offense finally exploding after playing 2 games in the snow in New England, and now you're going to go in Denver and it's going to be muckety, and you're playing in Mile High and they have a good defense. Like that's going to be ugly. I could see the Patriots uglying their way there, and even if it's the Seattle defense kind of coming out and being like, "Whoa, we forgot what it was like to play when you weren't dealing with driving snow and wind in our deep passing attack."
Yeah.
So I could see that happening with New England.
Yeah. So, our last note on this game, and we'll move on to the Sunday games. I saw Ben Solak tweeted this out. Kyle Shanahan has coached 163 games for the 49ers. How many times do you think his team has been held under 7 points in those 163 games, Mark?
I hate this, and Shane knows it. Shane loves to quiz me. I'll say like 6, and 3 of them are in the playoffs. Is that what the stat's gonna be?
No, it's 4, and 2 of them were in January of this year against the Seahawks.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's just crazy. I mean, and obviously their offense is terribly banged up, missing 3 of their 4 best offensive weapons, and Christian McCaffrey is really just a receiver at this point. It's not a shot at Kyle Shanahan. It's more a holy crap. The Seattle defense is unreal, unbelievably good.
I have a fun stat to show here. I'm sharing my screen. This is great radio. Um, there we go. I popped it up on the screen for our audio listeners. I'll read it. It's from Josh Dubow. And I thought this was a really interesting stat. And I don't think Shanahan was the intention of it, but it made me think of him. 36 coaches have won the Super Bowl. Of the 32 that were hired after the start of the Super Bowl era, the breakdown of what year on the job they were when they won their first title, 32 of the 36, or I apologize, 28 of the 32 coaches that have won the Super Bowl did it in their first 5 years with the team. But that was a very, very interesting stat. Kyle Shanahan winning down the road, or what happened with Andy Reid, I assume that's who that is in the 14th year there. I think it's rare that it's more rare than people think that a guy just will figure it out in his 10th year or something like that and get across the line. And I don't think that's necessarily Kyle Shanahan's fault, by the way. I think he's just had his chances, and for various reasons, about 4 or 5 different times, it didn't work out. Whether that be Mahomes getting him in 2020, whether it be Brady getting him in 2016, whether it be, any of the times that the electrical substation got his players hurt. Whatever you want to say, I think we might be in a situation now with Kyle Shanahan. And to his credit, I thought this before this year. I thought this era was over. And he went 12-5 and had a ton of injuries throughout the whole year and still managed to figure out his way to get back on top, and almost have a chance to win the 1 seed. I think I'm planting my flag that Kyle Shanahan's not going to win a Super Bowl in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen. I think the window's over. You paid Purdy now too. Not that Purdy's bad at all, but I don't see how this situation's getting better in San Francisco. Kittle's older now. Heard McCaffrey's older. Purdy's I don't think going to be a guy who's going to be like better in 5 years. So Trent Williams, not much more time with him. Bosa, another injury. Fred Warner's getting older at linebacker. Like, it just feels like San Fran is a little bit of a ticking time bomb. We didn't love their draft this year. I'd have to dive in to see how all their guys did as rookies. But I think San Fran's trending downward.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a big weekend for me because I said Sean McDermott would never win a Super Bowl in Buffalo. And I said that last offseason, and it was like 2 off seasons ago, I said the 49ers Super Bowl window had closed. So I was in danger of having to print some retractions, and I at least survived. Well, I for sure survived with the McDermott one. I survived for another year with the 49ers one. So
yeah, I did mean to say that we very much, and I'll never forget it. It was the day after the Chiefs won after the Bills blew the 13-second game in 2022. I think it's the 2021 season, but in 2022, Shane and I came on. That would have been our first year on the podcast. And we both said that team is never winning a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott, and neither of us has ever wavered on it.
Yep.
I don't think either of us has ever picked the Bills at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of the playoffs. We've never wavered that the Bills that would win with McDermott. So we're off the hook. Them firing him.
And this year was like the most favorable setup for them ever, and neither one of us picked them when we were looking at the playoff stuff. Yeah,
they had their worst team of this era, and somehow everything cleared out their way in front of it. And if any of the other Bills teams we've seen in the last 5 years are the Bills team of this year, they're probably at least playing this weekend.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling here. This turned into a longer show than I thought it'd be. But let's go to Sunday. Houston at New England. New England wins 28-16. And C.J. Stroud legitimately might have put up the worst quarterback playoff performance in NFL history. Completes 42% of his passes. He throws 5 picks. He took 3 sacks. This is after a wild card performance where he fumbled 5 times and threw a pick. Now, he only lost 2 of those 5 fumbles in the wild card weekend, but he had 7 turnovers in 2 playoff games this season. And this is a team that had an incredible defense, and if the offense could just not suck, they would be playing this weekend. And C.J. Stroud turned it over 7 times in 2 games. Wasn't the cleanest game for Drake May. He fumbled 4 times. He lost 2 of those. He threw a pick, but he completed 59% of his passes and 3 touchdowns. Both guys were under fire all game. The Texans' offensive line's an abomination. The Texans' pass rush is really good, and they got after Drake May, made him uncomfortable. He put the ball on the ground sometimes. My lasting imprint of this game, though, will be the touchdown pass he threw to Kayshon Boutte. Awesome throw. Incredible catch. I mean, Kayshon Boutte makes the one-handed catch at the corner of the end zone, and that ends up giving the Patriots the margin they need to advance to the AFC Championship game. So, man, the Texans have got to figure some stuff out. C.J. Stroud, I feel like we're doing the thing where we're talking about the losers more, but that's just kind of what we typically do.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud's been chasing the rookie success for 2 years now, and it hasn't come. He has regressed both years, I think. And the offensive line's a big part of that. I love DeMeco Ryans, but we questioned hiring a defensive head coach to pair with your franchise quarterback that was young. For this reason, you get the churn of offensive coordinators. Bobby Slowick's gone last year, and you bring in a new guy. This is the same thing Seattle is going to have to deal with, by the way, when Clint Kubiak's gone, because I love Mike McDonald. This is why it takes a very special defensive coach for me to be fine with hiring you, and it's for this reason. And I don't think it's DeMeco's fault. I just think it's the dice you roll. And we know traditionally, like, quarterback play is more sticky year over year than defensive output. And that's why I think it always takes precedent. But regardless, they've got some uncomfortable CJ Stroud questions I think they've got to be asking themselves as they go into year 4.
I think that's I don't think it's a conversation. Like, I'm not even the biggest CJ Stroud guy. I think I might have less of an idea of how to rank CJ than any other quarterback in the sport based
Yeah.
on how good the first year was and how, like you said, he's just been chasing that and not come close, and how much of that is the situation. But then again, the situation his first year wasn't good. So, like, what is really happening these last 2 years? I really don't know, and I don't know if he ever gets back to that year one. But with
Mhm.
how many teams are desperate at quarterback, how many teams need quarterback, with how few
By
options there
by the
are.
way, whispers into the microphone, Jaden Daniels. In terms of getting back to year 1 for him, I think it's a
Yeah,
conversation we might have about Jaden Daniels next year too. But yeah,
absolutely.
you're right, and I'm not. They've got time. They're going to pick up his 4th year or 5th year option. They've got him under control for 2 more years. This isn't a decision you're making now, but if year 4 and 5 look like year 3, he's not
Oh
a guy.
yeah,
He's not a guy I would want to pay $55 million, and they don't have to answer that question now. But it's got to be in the back of some people's minds at this point.
yeah. I have seen the Davis Mills stuff. I think he did beat like the Jags, Bears, and Bills, if I'm not mistaken. Davis Mills did go 3-0 this year as a starter, so Stroud actually only went 9-6. If you look at the numbers like that, or I guess 10-6, counting the playoff win. But he I think if you're the Texans, you're not that far from removed from feeling like you had a top 5 quarterback going forward 2 years ago. He was your top pick of the draft. Like, there's just no way you can move off them this early. And I'm not saying that there's not signs of, maybe he's never going to be the same, but I think it's, you owe it to CJ and your team to keep fighting the good fight with him and keep trying to improve that O line around him and improve the weapons around him, primarily the run game next year. Get him a legitimate running back and some legitimate O linemen, and see what looks different. But man, weird year again for CJ Stroud. And is it a little bit? Eagles just interviewed Bobby Slowick. Is there anything like that's vindicating Bobby Slowick a little bit? Like, apparently he coached CJ Stroud hard after that first year, and CJ didn't like that, and everything has not went well since. Maybe Bobby Slowick was unfairly scapegoated there.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. But all
I don't
right,
really want to take a gamble on it for the Eagles. But
yeah,
and then my last point I'll just make with D'Amico. We already talked a little about the Patriots. I don't feel the need to go too far deep into that, other than to just say Drake May stop fumbling the football.
yeah,
Um, the Texans, D'Amico is probably the best DC head coach, right?
yeah. I mean, him or McDonald. Yeah,
Yeah, McDonald. That's fair. McDonald is probably the answer, actually, over D'Amico that I would take. So I don't know if I'd put D'Amico in my top 10. Like, if I'm hiring all of the head coaches and I'm like, I can hire anyone and I can make my choice, I don't know if D'Amico's one of the first 10 names that I'm listing. And that's either the first or second best DC head coach. So I think that says it all, personally.
yeah, yeah. I love both D'Amico and Mike McDaniel. Think they've both done awesome jobs. It's just a hard path to walk, I feel like, in terms of that. But okay, let's go to the last game, the Rams at the Bears. This one goes to overtime, and the Rams win 20-17. But we get to overtime because of one of the craziest throws you'll see this year. Near the end of the game, it's 4th and 4. Caleb Williams at the snap is pressured. He sprints backwards like 20 yards and throws an off his back foot pass to Cole Kmet to get the game to overtime. In the box score, it is a 14-yard touchdown pass. It traveled over 50 air yards, which is insane. Just an unbelievable throw. The cardiac bears, right? You're going into overtime, and then they kick off in overtime. They get a 3-and-out. But then Caleb Williams throws an interception on a deep pass on 2nd and 8 from the Rams 48. And there's been a lot of blaming of DJ Moore for this. I think there's plenty of blame to go around. DJ Moore does a poor job. Caleb Williams should have never thrown this ball to start with. Like, you're on the fringe of field goal range to win the game. It's probably not the time to be taking those shots. The Bears also had a lot of fourth down attempts in this game. They scored on 2 of them, but they failed on 3 in field goal range. So, the aggression pays off at times, but not always for the Bears. Caleb Williams threw 3 picks in this game. And honestly, Caleb throws 3 interceptions in this game. He wasn't the worst quarterback in this game. Matthew Stafford was horrible. He missed routine throw after routine throw on his way to a sub 50% completion percentage. So much so that McVay leaned on the running backs a ton late. Running backs for the Rams had 11 carries in the first 3 quarters. They had 19 in the fourth quarter and overtime. And it wasn't even working particularly well, but that's how bad Stafford was in this game. And, Stafford struggles in cold weather. We know he hurt his hand last week, and maybe that all plays in, but Stafford missed a lot of layups in this game.
I was stunned, and I guess it's just like the Bears play bad for the first 3 quarters to lull you into a sense of comfort so that they can come back into the game.
Yeah.
I've been very critical of the Rams defense, very critical of Chris Shula. I haven't really understood why Chris Shula has been getting the head coach buzz that he has, and I know that they don't have a ton of talent on that defense, but the Rams' ability to hold the Bears, I'm pulling up the play-by-play drive tracker here. After they scored that field goal at the end of the second quarter, or I guess with a couple minutes left in the second quarter, they go punt, interception, punt, turnover on downs on their next 4 drives, and they don't score again until Caleb goes Superman and throws the ball up for grabs. Also, I'm giving a lot of credit to the Rams D, a lot of credit to Chris Shula here. The DBs that tried to sell, or I guess mainly the one DB that tried to sell that as offensive pass interference on Cole Kmet in the end zone should be in prison. The guy
what is he doing? Oh my goodness.
Flops. I don't understand that at all. Just stay with him. Just stand there. It's like he decided I'm going to flop for the OPI instead of actually play defense on the play.
How are you letting a guy get behind you when you're 5 yards deep in the end zone? On 4th and 4 with the quarterback 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It's not like you have to worry about the guy running forward out of the end zone. Just follow him and go make the tackle after the ball travels 35 yards. It was horrible defense.
It's unbelievable how bad it was. So I'm giving the Rams all this credit, Shula all this credit. They got 5 straight drives out of halftime where they did not get any points for Chicago. That's, a win and a half for the Rams. And McVay said it. McVay was bad in this game. I think Sean McVay might be the best coach in the sport, probably is the best coach in the sport. He was terrible in this game. They had 6 running back carries in the first half. Chicago's run defense is horrible, and that was everybody thought coming into the game that'd be the way that the Rams would take advantage. They ran the ball much more in the second half. I believe it was 21 running back carries in the second half to 6 in the first half. And they weren't that efficient, 4.1 yards per carry for Kyron, 3.2 for Corum, but it made the pass game more efficient in the second half, it's not rocket science. So I just didn't understand why McVay came out in that first half gunning the way he was. And then for him, I forget the exact situation, but running the ball on 3rd down with a couple minutes. Let me find the exact situation here on the drive tracker. I apologize. But when they punted the ball, yes. Okay. Right here. So 3rd down, 2 minutes and 7 seconds left. It's 3rd and 10. At your own 14, you're up 17-10. You get a first down. It gets really hard for Chicago. It's 3rd and 10. The 2-minute warning is coming anyway, whether it's on that play or the punt. And they run the ball, right? Just draw right into the middle. 3rd and 10. Patullo nonsense.
2nd and 12 run is pretty bad too, but at least there you're making Chicago burn a timeout while you've got the lead. But yeah, 2:07 left, 3rd and 10. You call a pass play. I mean, I guess it's possible you incomplete a pass before the 2-minute warning, but I thought that was crazy.
And then again in overtime, 4th and 3. It's the first drive, 4th and 3 at your own 34. I understand. Worked out. They won. They got an interception. Good job, Rams. They punted from their own 34 on a 4th and 3. I know if you don't get it, you're handing Chicago the ball. In my opinion, once you punted that ball, you had like a 10% chance of winning anyway. You got lucky and got in that 10%, but once you gave the ball to Chicago, telling them all you need is a field goal to win this game, the only thing Chicago couldn't do is what they did. Of course. Of course it works out for McVay. Of course it works out for the Rams. I think, am I wrong in saying that punting there is, I think, insane?
I don't know. I
saw some disagreement from analytic people. I saw some people saying you have to go for it. I saw some people saying you have to punt, and then I saw some people saying that you had to go for it, saying you're not factoring in the overtime rules to your model here. Like, I did see some disagreeing out there.
It's fuzzy analytically because it's overtime and the models are flawed when it comes to that. My gut feeling is that I'm probably going to punt there in a game where we've only given up 17 points. Because if I go for it in a game where my quarterback's played poorly, like, we got to throw. I went from 2nd and 2 to 4th and 3 with back-to-back run plays. So I feel like I got to throw. And my quarterback's played really poorly. I would probably punt it there and try to play defense, but it's a tough call. I would not fault a guy for either decision there probably.
Okay. Yeah, I was upset in the time. I thought it was crazy in the time that had happened, but maybe I could be overreacting there. They got it done. I did not think McVay did a good job. I thought Stafford was really shaky for a lot of the game. I thought the run game wasn't nearly as good as I expected it to be. And they got it done. And it was a lot because of what the defense was able to do until that last drive. And then again in overtime with making that big play and that big interception. And, this Rams defense was playing above their head for the first half, maybe even more than half of the year, in big part because they were able to force so many turnovers. And in this game, they get Caleb to throw 3. They get Caleb to throw 3 interceptions. And that's the difference in the game.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And so now you have a Rams team who I think a lot of people really liked coming into the playoffs. But man, you got back-to-back 3-point wins, including one of them being against the Panthers, and it took overtime. But you're going into a third divisional match with the Seahawks, and all bets are off in divisional games in divisional matchups in the playoffs. So should be a good one. That I'm looking forward to that one next weekend.
And breaking news on that: Charbonnet out, having surgery. So just
what was the injury?
I can't significant. Mike McDonald said significant knee injury. So not.
So we're guessing ACL then probably.
Probably, yeah.
See, that was my initial injury with the way, or concern with the way he went down. But I thought they had said that they didn't think there was structural damage that had come out during the game. So I was really hoping he was going to be all right.
So he has a very long road back.
Man, that stinks so much. That sounds like more than an ACL if they're saying very long road back.
Yeah, it could be like the PCL, MCL, ACL thing.
Yeah. Well, Kenneth Walker is up to the load, but I hate that for Charbonnet. Hopefully he's able to come back strong.
And I think he's a free agent, right? Charbonnet? I could be off on that. No, after next year. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say he shouldn't be. He was drafted too recently for that.
So after next year. But, yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that does it for our recap. We've already kind of previewed along the way, but I guess we can make our official picks. New England at Denver. You said you think this is going to be a close one, but you've got New England winning a close one?
Yeah, 17-14, 2017, something in that range.
Okay. I think it'll be a little... I don't think it's going to be like a 49ers Seahawks game, but I think New England will win a little more comfortably than that. So I'll take New England by 2 scores. And then Rams at Seahawks. What do you have?
You know the spread on this one?
What is it?
You want to do guess the lines?
See, I give you like the trivia stuff.
You're pretty good at this, though.
You watch lots of football and you know these things, and then you give me guess the line, and I'm not a gambler. I would say
you're pretty good at it generally.
The home field is traditionally, is it like 3 points?
they used to say it was like so. This is the best way to explain it. I'd say like if you had two even teams, they used to say the home team would be -3 either way. It wouldn't matter. I think now they think it's more like the home team's -1.5 or -2.
Okay.
Like you only get that 1.5 or 2 points now. That's it's everything's different and every environment's different. But that's kind of what the common logic is.
I would say Vegas would handicap this as dead even based on the regular season results. Seattle's home. Uh, we'll give it over a field goal. Well, let's take Seattle -3.5.
2.5. So it's Seattle
Okay.
-2.5.
So by a field
Uh,
goal.
Yeah, very close expected game. And this is not one I'm going to bet. I'm laying off this one. I do not have confidence either way. After that week, after their first matchup, if you remember, I was very confident in Seattle to win that second matchup, and I bet Seattle in that game. It ended up being maybe the game of the year
Yeah.
in the NFL. But it's funny. After the first matchup that they lost, I was more confident in Seattle for the second matchup. Now that Seattle won that second matchup, and I watched what it took to happen, that Herculean comeback from both sides of the ball, I'm actually like kind of leaning towards the Rams. So I'll pick the Rams. I'm not confident in it. Let's call it 24-23. I'll pick the Rams.
I'll take the Seahawks. Just same sort of deal. Really close game. I think this is going to be a great game. However, I will say a scenario where the Seahawks blow out the Rams would not surprise me. Also, a scenario where the Rams blow out the Seahawks wouldn't surprise me. Like I could see, like Stafford's played bad in the postseason and he's facing a great defense. Darnold is facing a good pass rush. I could see either of these quarterbacks having a really bad game and it snowballing. But I do think it's going to be a good game. So I'll take Seattle in a close one. I wouldn't be shocked by a blowout either way, though.
I think where I'm at is I think the Rams are going to score somewhere in that 20-28 range.
Uh-huh.
Like I know Seattle's defense is awesome. Even if Seattle's defense is awesome, I'll answer that question. Even if Seattle's defense is awesome, I think Seattle, like the Rams will score 20. And if Seattle's defense is less than awesome, like I think the Rams will still not be able to score like 30. So like they'll score like 28. What it comes down to is Seahawks offense versus Rams defense. And that's the big unknown. It's can Sam Darnold turn into a pumpkin even against maybe not the best defense? Because the Rams have forced a lot of interceptions, even while not. They do have a good D line.
Fourth in pressure rate in the NFL this year.
There you go. So it's just this. It's the Sam Darnold factor, and you don't know. And they could put up 40 like easily. I mean, the Rams before this game they had allowed 28 points per game in their prior 7 games, and 4 of those were against Bryce Young and Jacoby Brissett. So they have shown they can give up 31 points to not great offenses. So it would not shock me if Seattle comes out and puts up 40 again. But it also wouldn't shock me if Seattle comes out and Sam Darnold throws 3 picks and they put up 17. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing ever to me. So that's what makes this game so interesting. I'm pretty sure I know how the Rams offense versus Seahawks defense will break down. They'll be good, but probably not great. And then the other side of the ball will decide it. Mark, are you up or down for the year? So I am up for the year. I haven't updated it after this weekend. Going into this weekend, I was 98, 88, and 1 at plus 27 units. I think I lost like 6 or 7 units this weekend, to be quite honest. So I think I'm probably around the plus 21 unit range. Not nearly what we were last year. Last year, we finished the year at plus 98 units. And you can tie that directly to Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. I was plus 50 units on Jalen touchdown last year. I think I was like minus 15 units on that this year. So that's the biggest difference in my gambling from last year to this year.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mark, any other final thoughts you want to throw out before we get out of here?
My dog apparently had a final thought there to share. Final thought. I'll just give up my bets for tonight. They're not football, but might as well. I don't have a bet on the national championship tonight. I have Indiana 28-20, which is like right under the total and like right at the point spread. I am betting Providence in college basketball and the Boston Celtics in the NBA. So if you're a basketball guy out there, those are my bets tonight.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. A little bit of gambling stuff there from Mark. that is going to about do it for this episode. Thank you guys for joining us for our divisional round recap, episode number 221 of Chalk Talk. If you enjoy what you heard on the show, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next episode. We'll be live next week breaking down the conference champions, and we probably won't transition to previewing the Super Bowl because we'll have a whole other week for that, but we'll have some NFL content for you in the bye week there and then in the Super Bowl before we transition into our off-season programming. There'll be some draft stuff. There'll be our expansion draft, all the things we do in the off-season. So make sure you are tuned in. There'll be lots of stuff on the Eagles Pinpool Network too. We won't have the same amount of content, obviously, in the off-season that we have in the regular season. Our shows will scale back a little bit, but we're still going to be pumping out content as we turn our focus to the NFL draft, to free agency, and to all of those things. So hang out with us through the off-season as well. We really appreciate your support. Drop those 5-star ratings wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at Shane Half NFL. He is at Mark Henry Jr., and we will catch you guys next time.